Hey everybody, we told you we were going to start the Bible study back up, day 03. Public safety, we're still waiting on some accountability to come back, some accountability partners, and we also still need the 60. We're still at 60 on the following. But guys, you need to listen to this today. We're going to give you an example of what we're going to be doing. What we're going to be doing is we're going to break down mercy versus grace. And I want to give you a little bit of a kind of how this is going to go once we do get the live feed going. And I want to really break down what does it mean to be a Christian, what does it mean to be God-fearing, because if you don't understand those, then it's real hard to understand mercy and grace. So one of the first things I want to start with is, what does it mean to be God-fearing? And as you can see on here, it tells you a bunch of different, it's accountable. God-fearing individuals believe they're accountable to God in their actions and their words, both in this life and the next. Obedience, submission. They strive to follow God's commandments and teaching, acknowledging His authority, and seeking to live according to His will. Reverence and awe. God-fearing individuals recognize God's immense power and majesty, feeling a sense of humility and respect to His presence. I'm going to go right into the accountability, because that's what we all really struggle with. So we've learned what accountability is. I think everybody's got their own word of what accountability is. Well, let's go back to what our actual Bible study comes from. It comes from Romans 8:03. For God has done what the law, weakened by the flesh, could not do, by sending His own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh and for sin. He has condemned sin in the flesh. That's a powerful statement. So, like always, we do this in 3 stages. I do it from what public safety's been trained, fire, EMS, your police, to the church, to what we call civilians, which we're hoping is Christians or people who are converting to Christians, because what we want to do is bring everybody together in God's house. What is that intent? What does that look like? Well, we got to understand each other and understand what relationships and all are. So public safety, what does it mean to be accountable? I think everybody can agree to what accountability it would be is judged by your peers, which means fire, EMS, police. If you were given a scenario, they would see your actions to be the same to what your training, to what the background, and what public service is. And we do mean public service. So let's go into exactly what is, I'm sorry, I'm looking on here. Let's go right on into what is mean by, what is our word? What is accountability? All right. We just learned that God-fearing is accountable to God. So God-fearing means accountability is God-fearing individuals believe that they are accountable to God for their actions and their word, both in this life and the next. Okay? What is your word then? Let's break that down a little bit. And we're going to get into the biblical and dictionary part, but it says to promise something. I'll be there. I'll give you my word. Before I departed, we gave our word that we will return. A word as a promise. All right? One of the problems that we have in today's world is political correctness versus what is right. And that's a broad branch in here. That's why I'm going to be glad when we go live. Y'all can throw your messages in the box and we can really have an open discussion. I still message us on the 803 Bible Study. We will have a phone line directed so where y'all can message in too. There will be a phone line that we can have conversations later about it. We really want to open this up to discussion, but let's go into what is your word, because I really think people have a problem with that these days. What is your word? And another part that Christians throw in, which is similar to your word, is a covenant. Well, an agreement which brings about a relationship or commitment between God and his people. The Jewish faith based on biblical covenants, Abraham, Moses, and David. All right? Old covenant in the Bible, it was the covenant between God and Israel, the Old Testament. The New Covenant is the covenant between God and the followers of Jesus Christ, which means Jesus died for our sins, Jesus alone. Only Jesus can be earned. Our salvation cannot be earned, it is given. This is key, guys, because if you don't understand this right here, when we go later and dig deeper into the, what is gospel and what is actual mercy versus grace, you're not going to understand it if we really don't comprehend that Jesus died for our sins, debt paid in full, nothing we can do. All right, so word versus covenant. All right, they bring it down even more into here from the old French, present participle tense, and I am not going to get that word right. So, an agreement, there was a covenant between them and her name and was never to be mentioned. We come up in here, these words are very similar. Contract, treaty, pact, accord, a deal. Distributing orderly rotation of players of the game around, include a new player, take part in a commitment to trade. See, we try to justify in political correctness and use all this. But basically, my word is I give you a promise. And if I break my word, what's the repercussion? Well, if you're a Christian, it goes right back to what does it mean to be God-fearing? It means I'm accountable to God. That if I do this and I break this promise, then that means that I am going to be held accountable by God at some point. Does that mean I'm going to lose my salvation? No, it does not. It does not. But if I am truly maturing in my Christian walk with Jesus, I realize that I am hurting him. I'm making him look bad. Because I'm walking, I'm talking the talk. I'm a Christian. I'm the man. I'm a Christian. But I'm showing that a Christian can break his word. I'm showing that a Christian can't be trusted. I'm showing that a Christian can choose to go in and out. I'm showing that I can justify anything. I'm showing that whatever I want to do, I can use politically correctness. I can do. No, sir. Let's just stop right there. If I break my word, it is sin. And if you're going to a church that doesn't have sin, that's very tough because the only one that's sinless is Jesus. So, is it offensive that somebody breaks their word? Yes. And we should call them out on it, but we do it Christianly. And is it a one-time thing? Is it they do it all the time? There's different standards in that. There's difference in each one of those. So let's break down one of the reasons that, a couple of reasons why people break their words. Well, let's do this deal meeting right here, because it has, that was the one I seen that went in there. A deal, an idea, issues. Take measure concerning someone or something, especially in teaching or putting something right. There's so many things in here. All right, let's break it down to more of why we don't break our word. Because we know, let's face it, I try to justify why I did it, but it's just like a law. It's like the police officers. It's like fire when we're going into a fire. There is a certain set of stuff, EMS, how to treat a patient. We know when we've done wrong. You know you broke your word. You know it. You know that it was a lie. What we're trying to do now is justify, and that's what we're more breaking down into there. Can we really justify? And also understanding each person in that word of their standing, and understanding if we're Christians, what this should look like and what we should do versus if we're not, it's just plain out sin. This is so much to unravel here, guys. And I'm just going to bring it back into, the simple parts. Why do we not break our word? Well, because of the foundation that's in Proverbs 7, which just tells us we're to be God-fearing. Here, properly the book begins, and this is the first of the Proverbs, an excellent one. It's such as one as it is not to be found in the writings in Eden. By the fear of the Lord, it is not meant to spare fear of punishment, fear of error, wrath, domination, which is the effect of the first work of the law upon the conscience of the fear, and speak of knowledge of God the Father for his love and grace, particularly of his forgiving love from whence it arises. Alright, so let's look down here a little further. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instructions. It's a lot there. So let's go back to our word, and as you can tell today, that is where we're starting on mercy and grace, is with us. It has to. So I'm going to give you 3 scenarios of politically correctness. Our word as we take it. And I want you to look at all 3 of these so that you can understand what justification is. And I bring a lot of real life stuff in. So I'm going to take it into a Christian family first. Christian family. Come together as a family. One is not completely living in a Christian ways that we all agree is. We come together as a family and we say, hey, here's how we're going to address this. We've prayed on it. We've done everything that we're supposed to according to God's law or according to our understanding of it. And we come into an agreement of our word, a covenant, whatever word you want to use there, but we all say, here's what we're going to do. Christianly, everybody's going to say, okay, that's easy, that's going to happen. Believe it or not, it doesn't, and I'm going to give you a little more example. The second one I want to give you is, what if 2 Christians give their word of what they go into a relationship, a partnership, a bit, whatever. You put that in there. They both lay down what they want out of it. And then 3/4 of the way through it, one changes their mind. How do you go from there? What does that look like? What does each side feel like? All right. Third one, and this is one that a lot of people want to connect with, but you know what? It's the same thing, and it is a. We're going to use the speeding ticket, left lane, right lane. We're going to use that scenario. So you're going down the interstate, highway patrol officer, you run up on him, however that is, he pulls you over, tells you he was, he asked you what your speed was. I don't know. Well, you were at least doing 80 because I was doing 80. Okay. Think about that part as we break all three of these down, because I wanted y'all to see that there's three different scenarios here. So let's go back to Christian family. Christian family, sorry about that. Christian family goes into agreement. Have outside, one of the people that was in the family has stepped out, is not acting Christianly. What do you do here? Well, the two of them came up to agreement, wasn't going to produce any more money to the person unless it was specifically agreed on in special circumstances per the two people, per the two heads of the house. Over and over and over, one side continues to agree that they're going to do it, but every time the person calls them, they give money or they break the deal. They continue to do this. To the point it's not even about money anymore. You make an agreement on, hey, when we finally got, because God's amazing. Even when we're working against him, you can't. He works out things. So you forgive, you forgive, you forgive, you forgive. How many times should you forgive? Well, I not have the answer. There is many scriptures on that. And I'm not trying to justify either side. But I do want you to see, because this is what's going to happen when we lose our word, is there repercussion? And does the other party have a right to be angry? We're going to break that down in a second. You got that whole scenario. Second one, two people come into a relationship, a business, whatever the scenario is, they grant up the rules. Long term down, they turn around and one of them decides, nope, I'm going to change the rules now. I mean, just like instantly, we're going to change these rules. You got to accept it. Is that breaking your word? Okay. Or does the person have a right to be angry? And does the first person have the right to just change their mind after you've given a word? Third one, police officer. When he's breaking the speed limit, the reason that he's breaking the speed limit is because if he does the speed limit, then everybody else is going to do less than the speed limit, and it's going to hinder or slow down the traffic. Kind of explaining that, we have laws in here to even keep this from happening. Because there's also a law in South Carolina that says if you're doing the left lane and you're not passing, then that's illegal. So, 3 scenarios that are open to justification, but are they? Let's go back to the beginning, because I'm not going to break down the scenarios of what happened at the end, because it's just, that's both sides tried to justify what they were doing. All right, in each scenario, one side justified it from this state, which means being privileged, a special right, advantage, immunity granted, available only to particular person or group. This is what's eating our whole culture alive. Our churches will not stand up for this, and I don't know why. This is an opinion here, but this is where I'm telling y'all this Bible study is going to start going into where we're going to have group conversations, and this is where the rubber hits the road, and this is where we will break down scenarios, and we'll dig into the Bible till we get the answers, or till everybody in there. And it's a dangerous thing, because everybody has their opinion. Most people see what somebody else does wrong, but they don't see when they do wrong. That's why I give you 3 scenarios, each from different, one from a Christian family, one from I will say a Christian proclaimed family. The other one from 2 Christians who really dig into the word and are mature. The third one from a public safety to regular civilians. All right. So privileged is one of the reasons. So privileged on the first one. The family that was proclaiming Christian. All right. Privileged side of it thinks that they had a right to just do whatever they wanted. Their word wasn't in there. Which on the other side, that meant somebody was going to feel like they wasn't privileged, and there's going to be anger. Two mature Christians, they went into a business relationship or whatever relationship there is. One's going to feel privileged because they obviously they can do whatever they want. There's no repercussions for their actions. What can the other one do? 90% of the time, it's going to probably be anger. The police officer, and I can tell you, I can go on this any day. I'm not going to go down the laws. I am not here as a lawyer. I'm here as Christians, sin, and going through what is mercy and grace. And these are some hard things to go through. So, if the police officer is breaking the law, he obviously feels like he has a reason to do it, and he's going to justify. And the other side is going to be angry. This one's really fine line here, because if you get angry on the side of the road with a police officer and it goes the wrong way, there is some repercussions. Or sometimes there's not, because of privileged has made it to where there's not. I'm going to share something with Tony Evans, who's a Baptist preacher out of Dallas. He says he will tell you, and I'll let you listen to this sermon to understand one of it, but he says 1% of the world is dictating how everybody lives. And he will tell you that 100% means that Christian churches and leaders are not doing their jobs. That's what all this is about, guys. This is, I'm really opening a bunch of doors here that are scary doors to open, that I promise as we go through our next studies, we're going to be able to answer these for ourselves. So, the other word that I just brung out was anger. I brought you what privilege is, which is what a lot of people feel. Let's learn what anger, and it's what it means to be angry, because this is the one that's most dangerous. Anger, as we got covered, is, one of the anger things is I did a Bible study, I heard, as Jesus was, the week right before he got on the cross, the Passover week, he comes up to the church and he sees all the changers, money changers, and all out there selling at their tables, and you can really dig into that, but he becomes angry and turns tables over. There is no doubt that God and Jesus the Son was at one here. And this was biblical anger. But we tend to try to justify everything we do. So God-oriented, it focuses on the offense of God's reputation and purposes rather than personal. 90% of our anger is not looked at that way. And when you get hit by surprise, it's very easy when you look at it from somebody else's view why we have a lot of sinful anger that happens. It's just we're sinful people. So when all of a sudden we find out in the, like in the heat of the thing that somebody has just broken their word, is there grace? Or is there mercy? It's hard to give mercy when you're just so angry. So each one of those three scenarios I gave you, all can either be answered. Do you do grace or do you do mercy? Do you do grace? Do you do mercy? Well, being Christian and God-fearing, we go back to this right here. It's focused on the offense of God's reputation and purpose rather than personal offense. Which one of those three offended God? That's a question you got to answer yourself. Which one of those three justified anger? Which one of those three needed to be justified? And I'm going to tell you this right here. That's everyday life. We go through those scenarios in many different shapes or forms. We go through them in many ways. So let's go back to being God-fearing. The friendship of the Lord for those who fear him, and he makes known to them his covenant. The Lord is a friend to those who fear him. He teaches them his covenant. God friendship and God worshiping, they're the ones that confides. All right? So now I'm going to give you the bones as we close. For God done in what the law, weakened by the flesh, could not do by sending his own Son in the likeness of sinful flesh for sin, he condemns sin in the flesh. Meaning all three of those scenarios are sin. How I can guarantee on each side of that coin there was sin on both sides. How do we deal with it? What do we do? We ask for help. We accept the anger that we had, or we accept where we lied. And we own the sin. We repent. We take it to God. Justification is never an option. Guys, as we do that, that's what I want to tell you. That's where I want to close. We need to be more focused on grace, the gospel, because God gives us a lot of mercy when we deserve discipline, when we deserve wrath. And you're God-centered, and you're worried about facing God versus these people, because it's easy to face these people. You can lie, turn around, what's going to happen? You're a liar, okay. What are they going to do about it? Are you going to jail? Are you going to be? There's no repercussions. What makes you a Christian? What makes you a good public safety who serves? What makes you a good church member? What makes you a church is standing up for what is against God's plan. And that's it totally. Guys, I want y'all to look for us. I need people to follow our study. Once we get up there, we can do lives where I can bring you all in and you can start commenting. We'll set up a time. I believe it's going to be 12 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday. I'm still waiting. Y'all can all pray for the accountability that we've been asking for to come in. And I think when that accountability comes in, it will also strengthen this a little bit and get it more focused. As y'all have a blessed day. Thank you.